Hong Kong is a world-class city with a variety of offerings that make visitors and residents alike yearn for more. But there's nothing more salivating than its food choices. In this episode, Des takes us on a very personal culinary journey while exploring one of the city's most nostalgic dishes.
Thank you. Whether served in a white styrofoam box or at a five-star hotel, the food that I'm introducing today is probably the closest Cantonese/Hong Kong food has to comfort food. Yes, I am talking about Siu Mei. While the history of roasted meats traces back thousands of years in China, Siu Mei really became popular in the 1950s and 60s when Hong Kong was still a major manufacturing hub. It became a favorite of the working Joe because it was so convenient and time efficient to grab something that was satisfying, delicious, and filled your stomach. Because Siu Mei is such a familiar dish, I think each person has their own experience and stories with it. For me, Siu Mei always reminds me of my early days living in Canada. Whenever we were homesick, Mom would take us to Chinatown, and there were two foods that would always remind us of home: dim sum and Siu Mei. And I recall early on as well that just because something reminded you of home visually, it doesn't mean it gets the job done here. Because frankly, there's a lot of skills and know-how and heritage that goes into making good Siu Mei. This dish in front of me here is called a song ping, which means two kinds of meats. And there's also this sweet soy sauce. And although you guys can't smell it, all of this wonderful aromas coming off this dish, just incredible. And you may have also noticed that the most iconic of the Siu Mei meats are not on my plate. Of course, I'm talking about char siu, because I want to save that for the next place I take you to.
Headed over to Central, where the movers and shakers of the city mingle. Des is on a mission of discovery.
All right, that was good, and my belly is happy. But in my quest for the perfect char siu, I'm not just going to go to one restaurant. A standard plate of char siu costs $100 Hong Kong. But you know what? This next place we're going to, it costs 3 times that. And even if you're willing to pay for it, you might not get it because there's limited supply each day. Let's find out why.
Tucked away below the bustling streets is a renowned fine dining restaurant with an award-winning char siu we need to know more about.
Chef Lee, 你好啊。
你好，
最近好吗？
最近很好啊。
你的餐厅这个叉烧特别的出名的。
是啊，因为我们这个原材料啊，用西班牙的黑毛猪的叉烧。开张的时候啊，老板说用一个特别的食材做这个叉烧。这个黑毛猪都是吃橡果的，所以呢，这个肉质比较丰富，这味道口感都特别的不同。
哦，
我们 order 的西班牙黑毛猪叉烧，
哇，看起来很漂亮啊。
是啊，
那一个好的叉烧，你可以介绍吗？我有什么要留意的？
我们烤起来的时候，有些黑的，我们叫做火鸡。
火鸡
主要是用很猛的火把它烤，然后呢，它有些黑色的出来。我们这个部位是用最好的了，叫做铺马。
铺马
是啊，它们的肉肥和瘦是均匀的，一半一半，好像我们吃河牛一样，所以我们这吃起来看起来没有肥的感觉，但是吃肉就很软滑的。
好，我们试试吧。
好，看一看，然后嗅一下它的味道，香不香？
很软。
是啊，主要好的叉烧是外边是香的，里边是软滑的，这就是好的叉烧。
应该pair 怎么的酒比较好呢？
这个比较重口味和比较甜，所以我们配这个西班牙的红酒，是不是吃下去这个酒，好像把这个叉烧的肉比较提升一点？
对对对，是一个很好的 combination。
这我们的肉质是选的材料是最好的一个肉质。在口里边有很多的蜜糖的蜂蜜啊，而且有酱的香味在里面。
对，有香味，有这个口感，
是啊，也不会太软，吃下去有
对，
点
不会太软，
是啊，
也不会太肥。
是啊。
It's always kind of bothered me that char siu is translated into barbecue pork because to me, barbecue is something that's a little bit more simple. You take a piece of meat, you throw it on the grill in your backyard, and boom, somehow you end up with dinner. But in all aspects, whether it's texture and color and taste, there's a lot of complexity that goes into the perfect char siu. And that's part of the reason why I think it's really a cultural icon. All right, after trying some char siu from a local neighborhood favorite and speaking with Chef Lee, I've been inspired to make my own version of this revered dish. Most of the time when I do my food shopping, I go to a supermarket just for the convenience of having everything in one place. But today, I'm at the wet market because this is where the action is. And the other cool thing about wet markets is there's a lot of knowledge to be gained. Let's see if I can get some wisdom from some of the shopkeepers. Good morning, good morning. What should I buy if I want to buy char siu, make char siu? All right, so I got some knowledge about the different kinds of meats. Since it didn't really have a lot of tips in terms of the cooking, and she said, I can just buy the pre-made stuff for the marinade. But in terms of the meat, she told me the 3 different kinds of meats that can be used for char siu. But this is still the one that has no bone, and it's going to be really good. Mui tao. Now that I have the ingredients for my char siu, what I need more of is the knowledge and craftsmanship that goes into making a really good one. And that's why for my next stop, I'm going to be talking to members of the founding family of one of the bastions of Siu Mei here in the city. And it's not a stretch to say that everyone in Hong Kong probably will have heard of this place before.
A staple in the city for decades, this eatery evolved with the times, but its taste left intact.
Carol, Siu Mei is one of my favorite types of food. There's obviously a variety of Siu Meis. Why have you guys decided to focus on goose?
Actually, it started with my grandfather. My grandfather has started this business for 80 years. And he started at Dai Pai Dong in the old times. And he's famous in the roast goose. And we want to carry the legacy. So we do roast goose. We have 3 charcoal duck roaster. And we have 1 pig roaster. It's all burning charcoal. It's not the traditional natural gas or the LPG. So it's very different. It's very unique in Hong Kong.
Hi, Char, what's going on over here?
Oh, my chef is making a very traditional Siu Mei item in Chinese called zha.
And what is it?
It's basically consists of a few ingredients. It's the goose intestine, the goose web, and this barbecue pork, goose, and also goose liver sausage.
Wow, so a lot of ingredients.
Yes.
And who is the main target for dishes like this?
Actually, many old people love this because the many old people is in the late 50s, 60s. This is very popular items in the Siu Mei shops in Hong Kong. And because it's very labor intensive and many restaurants does not want to make this anymore.
Yvonne, I want to start off by asking you the same 2 questions I asked your brother.
Okay.
What are your earliest memories of the restaurant? And do you ever envision yourself joining the family business?
Siu Mei is a classic comfort food.
Yep.
That's all I know about it. Until I was in high school, then kind of I just aware that our restaurant is famous, and then roast goose is our restaurant is well renowned, and then roast goose is our famous signature dish. We preserve a lot of the culture or art work. So when people come here, when customers come here, I can actually tell them a lot of story. And then also tell them a story about the artifact that we try to preserve. And also we can also tell them the stories about all the dishes, all the authentic dishes we try to preserve as well. So this is, to me, this is a museum, a living museum, where we can showcase visitors or Hong Kong locals, all the Hong Kong food culture.
One taste of the roast goose here reminds you why Siu Mei is not just a kind of food, but a taste that represents Hong Kong. It's been a while since I've been to this restaurant, certainly before the recent renovations. There's so many things about this place that look different, but then there's so many things that feel the same. And the taste of nostalgia in the belly is always nice. I had some pretty interesting conversations down at the wet market, and of course I got a chance to speak with some renowned Siu Mei masters. So I'm pretty excited to be making my own version of char siu. Now, from my conversations with the Kim family, what really hit me was what a legacy Siu Mei is, right? It's been passed on for generations to generations. If my recipe today is successful, it's something that I can pass on to my children. But the one ingredient I want to bring special attention to is this one. It's called maltose. And it's something that I picked up from Chef Lee because I've never worked with maltose before. And to be honest, I'm guessing most people don't even have this in their kitchen. Maltose is a Chinese ingredient that's often used for confectionaries and for these barbecued meats. It looks very much like syrup or honey, but it's actually got a much thicker viscosity. But surprisingly, it's not as sweet as honey. We're gonna give the meat a nice massage. It's very, very thick. I have a torch here that's going to simulate the heat from those ovens. I'm just going to crisp it a little bit more to give it a little bit more of the black ends, a little bit of that charred flavor that all the shifus have been talking about. We're ready to plate this char siu and give it a taste. Now, I'll tell you, this is definitely the best looking char siu I've ever made, thanks to the maltose. But is it the best tasting one I've ever made? Let's find out. My conversations with the chefs have paid off. Pretty good. Cheers.